Hello, everybody, and welcome to Maximum Octane. I am your ringleader, Kim Hickey, and today I am so excited about my guest, and it's probably one of the first people that I thought of to have on here when I decided to do a podcast, and that is Mr. Dennis Snow. Hello, Dennis. How are you today?
Hello.
So what is so fabulous about Dennis? Besides he's an amazing speaker and all the other things, he's an author of two different books, Lessons from the Mouse and also Unleashing Excellence, which we'll have the links for you and all of the stuff about Dennis. But your career, I mean, holy cow, when you talk about today's world, how important it is to have great customer service and differentiate yourself from others and not be just a brick and mortar building. I mean, you were doing this way before it was cool. Like you were on this track before it was cool and sort of the in thing to do about having a good culture and providing excellent service and providing great training and all that.
That's my life.
Yeah. So, it wasn't very vogue back then when you started doing it, where now it's, all the things people talk about. So you started your career early on and at Disney, right? In like 1979.
Right. Yeah, I started in 79 at Disney World.
So can you walk me through a little bit to how do you start working at Disney and become the amazing mentor and leader that you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I was in college at the time and was getting ready for a summer break and was thinking about what I wanted to do for a summer job. And it was actually my dad, said, well, I was living in Vermont at the time. He said, well, why don't you go down and try and get a job at Disney World for the summer? So I thought, well, that sounds like kind of a fun idea. So I hopped in my beat up old Oldsmobile and it made it all the way down here to Florida. And I got a job at Disney World working at an attraction that's actually not there anymore, called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I was Captain Nemo. And so I got a summer job, fell in love with it. I just had a wonderful time, went back to school there, came back the following summer, worked for another summer and decided, you know what, this is what I want to do. And I transferred to the University of Central Florida and became a full-time cast member out at Disney World. And then just kind of worked my way up through the company, from a ride operator to a lead, which is what they would call a foreman, to a supervisor, to manager, and so forth. And worked there, ended up, what was originally going to be a summer job, ended up working there for 20 years. And then in 1999, I decided that I was going to go out on my own and do my own thing, and started my training and consulting business, which has been a fabulous thing. And I've actually been doing this longer than I worked at Disney World. So that's interesting.
Wow, I didn't think about that your sort of second act has been longer than your first one. So what are the things that you picked up from when you worked at Disney? There were a lot of lessons that you learned and people can read about that in your book, but what are some of the things that really stand out to you that you learned from your career at Disney?
Yeah, some of the key things is there's a phrase called everything speaks, that every detail is either enhancing your brand or detracting from the brand. So one of the things that we were trying to really focus on was to pay attention to the details. If you saw a piece of trash on the ground, it was your job to go over and pick it up and throw it away. It was non-negotiable. And it didn't matter if you were Captain Nemo or the vice president of marketing. If you saw a piece of trash on the ground, you went over and picked it up and threw it away. And that was one of the things that was just ingrained into. And interestingly enough, the out of everything, the number one compliment that Disney World gets is how clean the place is, and that's the reason why. It's everybody's job. They talk about that, your job can become very repetitive. I worked on the rides, and you're loading people on the rides. Watch your head and step, watch your head and step. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of times I said that. Watch your head and step. And you're doing these, just multiple times a day. Where's the restroom? Where can we watch the parade? And you have to remember that the guest is experiencing all this many times for the first time, that they're getting on this ride for the first time, they're watching the parade for the first time. You have to be excited for them. You have to understand that they're lost. They don't know where things are, that you know where everything is, but they don't know. So you have to treat every single guest as a very important person, and this is the first time that question is being asked, and treating them with respect and dignity. That was another big takeaway, that you're part of a show. You're not there to do a series of tasks. You're part of a bigger show, and you play a key role in that show.
That's so important. And I think we forget about that in life. And even with people close to us, when it's every day, you see them, whether it's internal customers, external customers, friends, business associates, we get in that routine, and we lose some of that, excitement and the passion. And it's really can show. And I don't know, I just not too long ago saw a band that I won't say how long I've been watching, but to watch them sing their songs today from 30 years ago, you talk about phoning it in. I mean, my gosh, it was like Weekend at Bernie's almost. And it was like, if we really are that unhappy, or you lost your passion for this song because you've been singing it thousands of times, to millions of people for 30 years, then it's probably time to get off the road, because for some of the people there, it's the first time they're seeing it, right? Like, as you said, and it's so important. We just get so caught up in ourselves, and we don't think about the other part of the equation, what we're there to do.
Exactly right. You cannot phone it in. And phoning it in is a great expression. You can't phone it in. People coming to Disney World, and those who are participating in this podcast, they know it's a very expensive place to visit. It's not a cheap experience, and they deserve your full attention. They deserve that excitement. They deserve that dignity and respect. And that's up to us. It's up to us to deliver that every single time. And the point is, you have to be present. You have to be. You can't just go through the motions. You have to be present and looking and listening and paying attention, so that you can respond to things, what somebody has written on their t-shirt. If they mention something about where they're from or something, to be able to connect to that, and again, make them feel special.
What are some of the tips or tricks do you have for that? Because in all situations of life, there are things that are, could be felt as monotonous, as you said, where you're just like, if I have to say that one more time, I am going to just lose it. So what are some tricks do you have for people to not have that be so mundane, and to really truly feel what you want to
have a sense of play? To have a sense of playing with people, and so again, it goes back to that being present, to notice what they have written on their shirt, to hear what they're saying, to notice their accent on where they're from, and just to have that sense of playing with people and interacting with them. And you hear that really Southern accent, and you say, "Oh, so you're from New York," and everybody laughs and has a good time, and they know they appreciate that attention to detail. So, for me, I always had the goal of making people smile. Even if I only had moments with them, if I could at least make them smile with something that I say, something that I do, then I could put a check in the win column. And then, so that was always my goal.
That's wonderful. You mentioned everything speaks, and one of my colleagues, I swear, I think he says that in his sleep after the very first time that we saw you speak, and he just, that is, we tease him all the time, because if he says that,
yeah,
30 times a day, he says it 50 times, and he really he believes it, and understands the message that you've always conveyed. And I don't think that people realize, big picture when you're doing something, that you are on stage, regardless of what your job or position is. And, example, I could just think of quick at the grocery store, lines are backed up, and then you see two people in a uniform over chatting. Now they might be on their break. They might be cracking, very serious problem that's going on in the whatever, but you're like online, you see these lines backed up, and then you see two people over there chit-chatting, right? So we don't know that they might be taking care of something very serious or what's going on, but the appearance is those two people are not working while I'm standing in line, right? So you have to look at that, and just simple things. I've seen even car dealerships. I went to pick up my vehicle the other day, and I'm watching the girl tap all over looking for another customer's keys, and they're all like, "Where are the keys?" And I'm watching all this, and your everything speaks was going through my head, because I thought, oh my gosh, if they're this disorganized and can't find the keys, what are they doing with my keys? Why are they not, And so even though it was a beautiful dealership, even though they had, really nice attention to me, when I came in and said, do you want water? All of that stuff. What I left there thinking was, holy cow, they were unorganized. And because they were in their own little world and they were not speaking directly to me, they just thought, okay, like kids, okay, you put your hands over your face and your eyes and nobody can see you, right? So that's just so crucial, I think, to business today. And more importantly, everybody just searches for Google Place now, right? I mean, the loyalty to brands or to businesses, I think, has really dropped off. My kids are an example. They're in their 20s, and boy, wherever side of town we're on, they'll Google to get a haircut, which I would, holy cow, stick a hot poker in my eye before I just Googled and went to a strange hair person, but they don't. So unless somebody's really wowing them, you're just a Google place. So everything you've been doing for years, I think is almost even more important now than it was before, because you have to build that brand and that following, right? And that loyalty to what you do.
You've got to create an experience, and products, pricing, services, people can duplicate those. That's why, they'll just Google to see where the closest place to get the haircut is. I'm just going to get a haircut. But if you can provide a unique, engaging experience, that's what creates the loyalty, where you think, this place was really good. This person was really nice. They listened to me. They talked to me. They understood what I was looking for. They asked the right questions. All of those sorts of behaviors create loyalty, because they're different. You don't get those at most places. At most places, the employees are just kind of going through the motions, doing the tasks. It's a task mentality versus an experience mentality. And so everything is about the experience nowadays. And that's why when you think about, favorite restaurants or favorite stores, it's usually not just about the product that they're offering. It's about everything. It's about how they welcome you, how they talk to you, how they engage you. That's what makes you say, when I need this again, this is where I'm coming. Even though it might not be the most convenient place in the world. I'm coming here because that's why, at Disney, with the prices, and it's usually a long way away for people. their goal is when you leave at the end of your vacation, they want you to have one thought in mind, which is, can't wait to come back. Can't wait to come back.
So you just mentioned two things, the pricing and the weight. We have a lot of business owners and automotive repair facilities that say, I can't raise my labor rate because I'll be more expensive than everyone else. Or, oh my gosh, I can't, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm booked out a week or 2 weeks or that. And they just go into a panic mode. When you talk about probably the most expensive place on earth would be
Right.
Disney. I don't
Right.
think I've been to many places
Yeah.
more expensive than that, but
Yeah.
people wait online for hours. I mean, think about what is set up there, right? You pay an arm and a leg by anybody's standard. You have to wait on lines that could be 3 hours, 4 hours long. I mean,
Yeah.
packed crowds, just all of that.
Yeah.
But they go. So,
There you go.
no one is sitting back at Disney going, yeah, we can't raise our rates. We don't want to be more expensive than anybody else. And
Right.
holy cow, we better get them on a ride in 5 minutes or, so why is that? How did they build that?
Well, now they do pay attention to those things because there's a threshold, obviously,
Right.
that you can't go over. So they do pay attention to those things. But the secret to it is if you're adding more value than what the cost is, that's where the magic is. If people say, and even Walt Disney, when he started Disneyland, he got slammed for charging admission because most carnivals back then didn't charge admissions. They charged a ticket for every ride, and at Disneyland, there was an entrance fee. And I think it was 75 cents. And he got slammed for that. And his philosophy, and it still makes sense to me, is it's not so much what people think when they're coming in, it's what they're thinking when they're leaving. Did they get value for that exceeded the cost? And as long as the answer to that is yes, then you're going to have loyal customers. If the answer to that is no, that, wow, that was so expensive, and it really wasn't worth it, that's when people don't come back. So that's the mindset that they have to go through over and over before they raise costs. Is this going to add more value that people say, yes, that is more value, that is of value to me, and I'm willing to pay it.
There are people out there willing to pay for a lot of things. When I hear businesses saying it's dead, no one's out, no one's spending money right now. It's that time of year, especially now around the holiday season.
Yeah.
We'll frequently hear that excuse, oh, it's holiday season, nobody's spending money. And it's like you drive by. The other day I drove by Fogo de Chao, I think is how you say it, the Brazilian steakhouse. I think it's $60 a head. There wasn't any room in the parking lot.
Right,
there wasn't,
right. That's
the
a good
mall,
example.
right? All of that. And so is your establishment, is your business, and is your level of service the place where they want to go and spend money?
Yeah.
Because they are spending money.
They are spending
It's just
money.
where are they spending it, right? And so to have that blanket and those blinders of, it's just they're at this time of year, people don't spend money. They sure as heck do. And they spend a lot of money, right? So how do you do it?
Yeah, that is true. There's people who are willing to spend the money as long as they're getting the value for it. That's the key. And so when you look at restaurants, you look at stores, you look at any type of establishment, there are some out there that are extremely busy. Their parking lots are full. So they're doing something right. And in my opinion, the thing that they're doing right is they're creating a positive experience for their customers, in addition to selling whatever it is they sell.
That's it. Gosh, I just wish everybody, can you just come on over and just talk to everybody all the time, every day, and talk, because when you think about it, it almost seems simple, right?
Yeah.
Make sure your value exceeds the, your price, right? And that you're wowing them every time. But it's something, for some reason, a lot of businesses fall short on, especially when they're shorthanded. So right now
Right.
I see a huge example of this, because many restaurants, automotive repair shops, I'm sure bakeries, every business you can think of, they're shorthanded. And
Hmm.
so, they're almost like rude and like, oh, we don't have any people, like, too bad. This is,
Yeah.
yes, it's going to take a long time or whatever, but
Right.
we're
Right.
shorthanded. Like, their problem is now my problem. So I don't want to share in those problems.
Hmm.
Now, if they were nice and, wowed me and, kind of let me know what was going on as things were going, and seemed happy to be there and grateful that I was there, instead of I'm an inconvenience because they're
Right.
shorthanded. What's some advice do you have for
Uh,
what's going on today?
There are always things you can do, even when you're shorthanded. Just that smile. When you see somebody, yeah, a customer or a guest, and you just give them that smile, or you just say, I know it's been a long wait time. I apologize. We are shorthanded. We're getting to you, but please accept my apology. Most of the time, most people are going to accept that. Not everybody, not everybody, but most people are good people and understand. It's when they're ignored. That's when they get upset, when they feel like you don't see me. You don't understand that I'm there waiting. But if somebody comes over to me and just says a few kind words to me, it says, I know we're running long and I apologize for that. We're going to get to you just as soon as we can. Please don't leave. Those are the kinds of things that make me appreciate, okay, at least they're trying. And it's the ones that don't try, the ones that ignore the problem and just are looking down, not paying attention. They don't want to make eye contact with anybody. That's where you run into the problems.
Because if they don't make eye contact, we won't notice that they're not waiting on
Yeah,
us, right?
yeah, yeah. That's right. They think if I don't see you, you don't see me, and I'm not. I don't even want you to look at me. But when you give the person that eye contact and those kind words, most people, again, not everybody, but most people are understanding.
Well, absolutely. And just, I know as a consumer, when someone at least smiles or acknowledges and is like, oh, gosh, I'm going to get to you just as soon as I can.
Yeah,
We have some constraints today with whatever's going on. I
yeah,
want them to succeed. I want them to have a good day at work. And, I'm happy to wait. But when they ignore you,
right.
that's an entirely different story. Or they're rude. I see some people now, they're just rude. Like, we're shorthanded, like, too bad. If you don't like
Yeah,
it, go somewhere else.
yeah,
Okay, I will
yeah,
gladly, go somewhere else.
yeah, yeah. And there
So,
are plenty of places to go. There are
yes.
plenty of places to go that sell exactly the same thing. And so it goes back to being present and understanding what people are going through. And it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So I don't want to make it sound like it's a simple thing to do. It's a challenging thing to do, to stay present and stay pleasant and happy, or at least appear happy, even when things are going crazy. I remember, working at Disney World, there were times when we would have, hundreds of thousands of people a day there, and you only have seconds with them. And it's just jam packed and you're crowded and they're asking questions and they're asking ridiculous questions and everybody wants an answer right away. And there are times when you just want to scream, but you had to say, no, this is the job. This is what I signed up for. And you do the best you can do. And as I said earlier, my goal was just to get people to smile or laugh. If I could do that, then then I could put a check mark in the win column. And it went back to just, trying to have some fun with it, with the whole thing. No matter, one of the chapters of one of my books is have fun with the job, no matter how miserable you feel. Because there are times when you're going to feel miserable, and that's when you need to look for the fun.
And everybody needs to read that. So you have worked with companies and people all over the world, and some pretty big companies like Exxon and AT&T and Coca-Cola, just a few of them.
Yep.
What is something that you universally see, or that's a recurring pattern you see, unproductive habits in business leaders?
Yeah, one of the things that I see that is a missing element, and it's not necessarily an unproductive habit, but it's a missing element, is that many companies don't take the time to think about what the experience is supposed to be. What do we want the guest or the company or the customer experience when they enter our auto dealership or whatever it may be? What do we want that experience to look like, to feel like, to sound like, to all of those things? What do we want it to be? Because then once you have identified that, then everything else starts to fall into place. So then what do our people need to be doing? Who do we need to be hiring? What do we need to be training them on? If you don't know what the experience is supposed to be, everybody just kind of does their own thing, and they're making it up as they go along. And so you have a company of 50 people and 50 different ways of delivering the experience, which is not a good thing. So at Disney, they have a very, and the world-class organizations, they're very clear on what that experience is supposed to look like, sound like, and feel like. And that's one of the top recommendations that I give to clients that I work with is step one, let's identify that experience that you're looking for.
I love that. And that's something that everyone listening can do right now today, as soon as they listen to this, right, is to start doing that. So, and one more question before we go today. After when COVID first happened, you and I had a conversation, and you were actually on my morning show, and we talked about how as the world was coming back online again, that you better believe that Disney and Universal and all of those, as they were opening back up, were sending people, to the other camps to see how are they handling this? How many people are they letting in? Can you share with our listeners how important it is to really examine the data of what's happening and to be aware of?
Yeah, it's very important to be out there looking at what other organizations and even other industries, what they're doing, because there are ideas out there that you can apply to your own operation about just about anything. And so I always say, when you're out there, you're going out for a meal, you're going out shopping, whatever it is you're doing, to be watching, to be listening. What's something that that's a good idea. We should be doing that. Because things are moving too fast now to operate in a bubble. If you're operating in a bubble, you're behind the game. So there are always things to learn from other organizations, from other industries that you can apply in terms of the experience itself, from training to onboarding new people, to wait times, all of those things. I had a doctor appointment just recently, and they had a board up with everybody's first name and last initial and the expected wait time that everybody had. So it said Dennis S, 20 minutes. That was my wait. So I knew what my wait time was going to be, rather than sitting there just twiddling my thumbs thinking, how long is this going to last? How long is this going to last? And I know they got that idea from somewhere else, but it was a great idea, and made the wait time bearable because I knew exactly what it was going to be.
And I bet it cut down on a lot of extra work for the people working there, because then Dennis S. wasn't walking up to the window every 5 minutes saying,
Right.
are they calling me in soon? Are they calling me in soon? Are they calling me in soon? So
Exactly.
wonderful. Well, fantastic advice. And everybody, if you take anything away from today, which there were a ton of things, but make sure that you're writing out and talking about what do you want that experience to be, for sure. And remember that everything speaks, from your logo to gum wrappers in your parking lot to
Yep.
people smiling or sitting on the cell phone. Everything speaks good and not so good, right? So
Exactly.
there's all of that. So remember that phrase. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And hopefully you will be back to share some more secrets. And
Hope so.
everybody stay safe, make good choices, and stay inspired. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.